Victor Ashford had everything money could buy: a tech empire, a sprawling mansion, a newborn son named Marcus. What he didn't have was his wife. She died in a car accident weeks after Marcus was born. The grief was suffocating. Victor couldn't face his son, couldn't face the reminder of what he'd lost. So he did what successful men do. He buried himself in work and hired people to handle the rest. Nannies came and went. None stayed long. Marcus spent his days in a silent nursery, waiting for a father who was always somewhere else. The mansion was beautiful and cold, a museum of expensive things with no one home. Elena arrived quietly, carrying a single suitcase and years of experience. She didn't speak much during interviews. She listened. From her first day, Elena noticed what others missed. Marcus flinched at soft sounds. He turned away from light. When he cried, his breathing changed, tightening, struggling. Most people would have reported this to the pediatrician. Elena did something different. She observed. She adjusted the lighting in his room. She lowered volumes. She moved his crib away from the window. She kept detailed notes of everything she saw. Over weeks, Elena began using a therapeutic technique from her pediatric training, gentle inversion therapy to help clear respiratory passages. She performed it carefully, with practiced precision. The baby seemed to improve. His breathing became slightly easier, his cries less desperate. Victor never asked how she did it. He barely looked at Elena. She was staff, invisible, unimportant. Elena didn't mind. She was there for Marcus. One morning, Victor reviewed security footage from the previous night, a habit he'd developed since becoming a single father. He saw Elena holding Marcus upside down in the kitchen. To Victor's untrained eye, it looked violent. His hands shook. His mind spiraled into the worst possible conclusion. The woman he'd hired was hurting his son. He didn't ask for an explanation. He didn't confront her. Instead, he became an obsessed observer, watching every camera, taking notes, cataloging every movement as evidence of abuse. The cold towels she used? Suspicious. The unusual baths? Proof of harm. The breathing techniques? An attack. Everything Elena did to help, Victor interpreted as cruelty. He called his lawyer. He contacted the police. He removed Elena from the house before she could explain. Elena was escorted from the mansion in front of the entire staff. The story leaked within hours. Headlines spread across the internet. Nanny accused of child abuse in tech billionaire's home. Elena's face was everywhere. Her name attached to accusations she didn't understand. No formal charges, no investigation concluded, just public execution. She lost her job. Her apartment application was rejected for safety reasons. Former employers stopped returning her calls. People crossed streets to avoid her. Elena moved into a friend's small apartment, her entire life destroyed by a father's fear and a misunderstood moment captured on film. Days after Elena's removal, Marcus got worse. His seizures began. His responsiveness declined. Doctors ran tests. Nothing came back conclusive. Victor grew frantic, calling specialists worldwide. None could help. In desperation, a nurse organizing storage found a battered notebook among old supplies. It was filled with meticulous handwriting, dates, times, symptoms, observations. Every entry described Marcus's condition with clinical precision. The notebook belonged to Elena. The head pediatrician read through it carefully. Then everything aligned. The symptoms matched a rare genetic condition, spinal muscular atrophy type 1. Elena's observations, the ones Victor had interpreted as documentation of abuse, were the only detailed record of Marcus's early signs. She had seen what no one else could. The hospital called Elena without explanation, asking her to come immediately. She hesitated, afraid of another trap, but she went. When the medical director explained what they'd found, Elena's hands trembled. She had suspected this all along. She had seen similar cases during her pediatric training years ago. The doctors explained what they needed, Elena's guidance on proper care and therapeutic techniques. They asked her to help save the child everyone had turned against her for loving. Victor was called to a hospital meeting. When he opened the door and saw Elena standing there, his world stopped. The truth crashed down on him all at once. The accusations, the destruction, the public shame, all based on a complete misunderstanding. He broke. Real tears, actual sobs. The tears of a man realizing he had destroyed an innocent person to protect himself. Eleanor didn't acknowledge his apology. She walked past him toward Marcus's room. She had come back for the baby, not for absolution. Eleanor was invited back to the mansion in a new role, clinical supervisor of Marcus's care. This time she had authority. This time she was respected. Victor didn't hide. He watched and learned. He asked questions. He followed her lead without ego. He began sitting with Marcus during therapy, holding his hand, learning how to care for his son in a way he never could have before. They moved past the past, not by forgetting it, but by transforming it. Victor helped Elena establish a foundation to support families dealing with rare pediatric diseases. He used his platform to share their story, not to redeem himself, but to warn others about the dangers of assumption. At the Foundation's first public event, Victor and Elena stood on stage with Marcus between them. Victor spoke about how misunderstanding nearly cost his son everything. Elena spoke about the importance of listening to caregivers who spend the most time with children. When they finished, the audience stood. The applause didn't stop. Elena was no longer the accused. She was the hero she had always been. The mansion changed. Laughter replaced silence. Therapy sessions filled rooms once left empty. Staff worked with purpose, not fear. Victor spent his mornings with Marcus. Eleanor ran the foundation and managed care. They worked as true partners, not friends, not lovers, but something deeper, teammates in the work of healing. Marcus grew stronger. His movements improved. His responses became clearer. His smile filled the house. The cold walls that once held grief became warm spaces where three people learned that redemption wasn't about forgetting mistakes. It was about turning them into purpose. One therapeutic session at a time, one family helped at a time, one life saved at a time. The mansion that had been a tomb became a home. The woman everyone had condemned became a healer. The man who had nearly lost everything learned what actually mattered, and a small boy who couldn't speak became the reason they all learned to listen.